I want you to take a second and just imagine your typical morning commute.
Oh, boy.
Right. You know the exact one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The brake lights, the crowded transit, the same old concrete scenery, maybe you spilled coffee on your shirt.
Yeah, just your standard Tuesday morning gridlock.
Exactly. Now, I want you to mentally take all of that, crumple it up, and throw it completely out the window. Instead, imagine trading that commute for the crisp, salt air of the Atlantic Ocean waking you up.
That sounds incredible.
And then imagine that by the time the afternoon rolls around, you aren't staring at a spreadsheet. You're breathing in the deep, quiet, earthy scent of an ancient beech forest, miles away from the cell tower.
Sounds like a pretty massive upgrade, doesn't it?
It sounds like an entirely different reality, honestly.
Yeah.
And it is a reality that requires a very specific intersection of geography, meticulous planning, and just a willingness to get out there and experience a landscape on its own terms, which is exactly what we are unpacking today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are thrilled you're here with us. Today, our mission is to explore a brand new launch from the folks over at Cycling Rentals.
Fresh off the digital presses?
Literally today. Their launch blog post went live today, March 9, 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And we are looking at the route maps, the itinerary, the entire philosophy behind their brand new 6-day self-guided Basque Country bike tour. And we're going to dissect it for you right from the coast to the peaks.
Which is incredibly necessary because planning a multi-day trip abroad, especially a specialized cycling trip, is usually, well, it's an absolute logistical headache for the average person.
Oh, yeah. Planning a trip like this usually feels like taking on an unpaid second job. You spend hours squinting at Google Maps trying to play detective. I'm always looking at a squiggly little line on the screen and wondering, is that a charming paved country lane?
Or is that a goat path that ends abruptly in a ravine?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. You worry about whether your luggage is going to magically appear at your next hotel or if the bike you rented is going to snap a chain on the first major mountain pass. The anxiety of planning can almost ruin the excitement of actually going.
It really can. And looking at the visual backdrop we have pulled up here, this topographic map of northern Spain mixed with these stunning, lush forest photographs, it perfectly illustrates why this deep dive isn't just about reviewing a vacation itinerary.
Right.
This is an exploration of how infrastructure, local geography, and centuries-old culture intersect to create what might be the ultimate accessible adventure. It's a study in how humans interact with the landscape when they strip away the usual barriers.
So we're going to trace this journey. We'll start right on the coast, head deep into the mountains, explore the absolutely genius way they are repurposing old railway lines, and then dive into what authentic Basque culture actually looks and tastes like.
And the logistics, too.
Oh, of course. We will tackle the nitty-gritty logistics of how you survive legendary cycling climbs without having a professional team car following you with spare tires.
Right.
Let's start right at the beginning.
Let's do it.
The tour kicks off in San Sebastián, or Donostia, as it's known locally. And if you haven't been, San Sebastián is legendary. It is this glamorous coastal town built around a perfect crescent bay with these beautiful golden beaches. But it's also famous for something else entirely.
The food.
The food. It has a wildly high density of Michelin stars. We're talking more Michelin stars per square meter than almost anywhere else on Earth.
Which, if you think about it, is a fantastic place to begin a high-energy physical challenge. You can certainly fuel up on world-class cuisine before you start burning thousands of calories.
Right. But the genius of this itinerary is that you don't linger in that tourist hub forever.
Yeah.
You fuel up, you load up your bike, and you head inland. And the transition is almost immediate.
Almost instantly.
Yeah, you leave the coastal urban buzz behind, you head up the Oria River Valley, and suddenly, the only sound is the rhythmic hum of your tires on the pavement.
What's fascinating here is the psychological appeal of this specific route design. Think about what usually happens on a vacation. You arrive in a major, bustling tourist hub, and you usually spend days fighting crowds.
Oh, crowds.
Trying to acclimatize, dealing with a massive amount of sensory overload and decision fatigue. Where do we eat? How do we navigate the subway?
It's exhausting.
It is. But by transitioning so rapidly from a food-centric, glamorous coastal city into the absolute quiet of rural Navarre, it allows the writer to experience a dramatic, almost cinematic shift in landscape.
It's like flipping a switch from modern chaos to ancient tranquility.
Exactly. And because the tour operators have handled the routing, that shift happens without any logistical friction. You aren't navigating chaotic highway interchanges in a rental car trying to escape the city. You are just smoothly pedaling out of one world and directly into another. The mental relief of that is profound.
And that mental relief is the real beauty of the self-guided model. Let's think about what this means for you listening right now. When you're on a traditional guided tour, you're always on someone else's schedule. You are kind of part of a herd.
Yes, waiting for everyone else.
Right. But here, you aren't chasing a ride leader who is blowing a whistle and barking at you to keep up. You have total freedom. If you're pedaling through a tiny stone-walled village and you smell a local bakery, you can stop. You can spend an hour eating pastries.
Nobody is rushing you.
Exactly. If you come across an ancient medieval bridge and you decide you want to stop and take 20 different photos from 20 different angles until the lighting is perfect, you just do it. You own the pace.
That autonomy changes the entire complexion of the trip. You are moving through the world on your own terms, making your own micro-decisions based purely on curiosity, which makes every discovery feel uniquely yours, rather than something pointed out to you on a megaphone.
Which brings us to some of the absolute coolest discoveries on this entire route. As you move inland and start climbing into the mountains, you hit the centerpiece of the trip, the Plazola Greenway.
The Greenways are fantastic.
Yeah, going through the details of this route, there is constant mention of these Vias Verdes. I need you to break this down because it sounds like a game changer. What is a Via Verde?
I would love to, because it is a masterstroke of civic engineering and environmental repurposing. Vias Verdes translates directly to greenways. These are disused, abandoned railway lines that have been brilliantly converted into smooth, entirely car-free cycling and walking paths.
Okay, so they just paved over the old train tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds scenic, but what makes it so special for a cyclist?
The engineering benefit is massive, and it comes down to physics. You see, trains, especially older historical trains hauling heavy cargo, they could not handle steep gradients.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a car can power up a steep hill, but a train required very gentle, sprawling inclines to get up into the mountains. So when you convert that historical train track into a bicycle path, you inherit that exact same gentle gradient.
Oh, I see. So instead of fighting your way up a punishing 10% grade mountain road
Right.
alongside logging trucks, trying not to pass out.
Precisely. Instead of a climb that will completely burn out your quads in 20 minutes, you are riding a steady, manageable 1 to 2% climb. You get to ascend deep into the dramatic mountain peaks, securing those incredible sweeping valley views, but you do it while expending a fraction of the energy.
Right.
You are essentially using 19th century railway engineering to hack a modern mountain climb.
It's literally a cheat code for mountain climbing. And my absolute favorite detail about these old train routes is the tunnels. Because obviously, trains don't just go over hills, they bore straight through them.
Yes, they do.
The Plazola Greenway features a whole series of old train tunnels that you actually get to ride your bike through, including the Uitzi tunnel. And get this, the Uitzi tunnel is the longest greenway tunnel in all of Europe.
It's a remarkable piece of infrastructure. Riding a bicycle through a mountain is an entirely different sensory experience than riding over one.
Can you just picture it for a second? You are riding through this lush emerald green forest, the sun is beating down on your shoulders, you're sweating a bit, and then you enter this massive stone archway carved right through the bedrock of the hills.
The climate change is instant.
Instantly. The temperature drops 10 degrees. It's this damp, cool thrill. The tunnels are fully lit, they're well-maintained, and they just connect one valley to the next. You're riding through this dark, echoing space, the sound of your tires completely changing, and then you burst out back into the blinding sunlight and a totally new landscape on the other side.
It's highly atmospheric. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just an isolated novel path. This route traces sections of the famous Eurovelo 1 Atlantic route,
Which is huge.
It is a massive cycling network connecting the entire European continent. And eventually, the tour has you descend along another greenway, the Bidasoa Greenway, which follows a pristine river valley back toward the coast. What this infrastructure does is allow modern cyclists to safely and efficiently traverse incredibly remote areas that cars just can't access easily.
You are passing by old, abandoned station houses, remote farmsteads, places that really feel lost in time.
Exactly. It allows you to observe a rural way of life that still moves at the pace of the seasons rather than the pace of modern commerce. You are seeing the interior of the country the way it was seen a century ago.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because it's not just about looking at the scenery like it's a museum exhibit. It's about actually being immersed in it, participating in it. This tour is heavily focused on showing you the hidden Spain, far, far away from the crowded beach resorts and the typical tourist traps where everyone speaks English and sells magnets.
The contrast is key here. You started with the Michelin stars and the bustling coast. but out in rural Navarre and the deep Basque Country. The luxury chefs from high-end modern dining to deep, authentic historical comfort.
The sensory details of the accommodations are amazing. You aren't pulling up to generic glass and steel chain hotels by the highway. The route has you staying in these historic stone houses tucked away in narrow, cobblestone village streets.
It's very picturesque.
Very. Picture heavy timber framing, wooden balconies overflowing with flowers, places that have been standing for hundreds of years. And the culture here is fiercely distinct. The Basque Country isn't just a region of Spain. It has its own deeply rooted ancient language, its own unique traditions, and a very palpable local pride.
An incredible local cuisine.
Yes, eating pinsos, which are these elaborate, incredibly delicious local tapas, often served on small slices of bread, is practically mandatory at the end of a long ride.
And beyond the food, there are specific cultural touchstones that really anchor the experience. One highly memorable detail is the local wine, specifically Tuxocoli.
Oh, the pouring technique. I saw pictures of this in the launch post. It looks like a great way to spill wine everywhere.
Haha, it does take practice. Tuxocoli is a regional, slightly sparkling white wine, very dry and crisp. But it's not just about the taste, it's about the presentation. It is traditionally poured from a significant height, often a foot or two above the glass.
That is so cool.
It is. This aerates the wine, enhancing its slight fizz and opening up the flavor profile, but it also serves as a point of cultural theater. It's a centuries-old tradition. When you sit down at a local tavern in the small mountain village, your legs tired from the ride, and the bartender pours Tuxocoli from 2 feet in the air without spilling a drop, you know exactly where you are in the world.
Which, if I tried it, would end up entirely on my cycling shoes.
Better leave it to the professionals.
Definitely. But the way you arrive at that tavern matters too. I think this is one of the most compelling parts of doing a trip like this.
It's a profound philosophical point. When you travel by bicycle, you become a participant in the landscape, not just a passive observer looking through a pane of glass. Think about the difference in how you are perceived by the locals. When you step off a massive, idling, air-conditioned tour bus with 50 other people into a quiet mountain village square, snapping photos.
You're a temporary nuisance.
Right, you are an intrusion. But when you arrive by bicycle, covered in a bit of dust, maybe sweating, having pedaled under your own power to get there, you have earned your arrival.
Yeah.
The locals recognize that physical effort. It fundamentally changes the dynamic. You are vulnerable, you are engaged with their terrain, and that leads to a much more authentic, respectful, and genuinely warm welcome from the people who live there. You are a traveler, not a tourist.
You put the work in, so you earn that glass of Tuxocoli.
Exactly.
But speaking of putting the work in, we have to talk about the physical reality of this route as it eventually leaves the mountains and heads back to the ocean. Because what goes inland must come back to the coast.
And the return journey is visually spectacular, but it introduces a whole new set of geographic variables. The route loops back toward the sea, taking riders through the incredibly colorful historic fishing town of Hondarribia. And because of the unique geography of the Basque region, the route actually crosses the border into France.
2 countries, 1 bike ride. It's a pretty great bragging right. But how does crossing the border actually change the ride?
It's a noticeable shift in atmosphere. You cross the border and head into the French Basque coast, specifically exploring the charming seaside town of Saint-Jean-de-Luz. You go from the more rugged, earthy feel of the Spanish side to a slightly more manicured, elegant, coastal vibe on the French side.
Oh, I can picture that.
The architecture shifts to these beautiful, timber-framed Basque houses painted in traditional reds and greens. The culinary focus slightly tweaks, and you get to experience how this ancient culture spans modern political borders. It's a fascinating cultural duality.
I love that. But before you get to casually coast along the French beach and eat croissants, you have to tackle the mountains one last time. This section is called the Climber's Dream. You're riding through the Aralar Range, which is full of these jagged limestone peaks. But the absolute crown jewel of this section is Mount Jaizkibel.
Absolutely. Mount Jaizkibel is legendary in the cycling world. It is a staple climb of the famous professional race, the Classica de San Sebastián. If you follow pro cycling, you know this mountain.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me this vacation route features a staple climb from a professional race? I'm imagining the average listener, or me for that matter, thinking my quads are burning just hearing that. How on earth is a professional level mountain climb accessible for someone on a 6-day vacation? That sounds like torture.
That is exactly where the specialized outfitter comes in. The barrier to entry for a trip like this is usually the equipment and the logistics. You can't exactly pack your own highly tuned bicycle in a suitcase easily, and renting a poor quality, heavy bike will ruin a multi-day trip instantly. But the beauty of this climb is that the gradient is incredibly steady and the road surfaces are pristine.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Mm.
We've talked about legendary professional climbs. We've talked about multi-day touring. How does cycling rentals actually solve the pain points so the average person doesn't end up stranded on Mount Jezebel?
They have this totally dialed in. They provide fully serviced, high-end bikes specifically chosen for this mixed terrain. They offer gravel bikes, which, if you aren't familiar, are basically the perfect hybrid. They give you the speed and efficiency of a road bike on the pavement, but they have thicker, grippier tires, so you feel totally stable when you hit the dirt and gravel of the Greenways.
That makes a lot of sense.
They also have robust touring setups, and they provide the panniers.
Which are crucial. For those who don't know, panniers are those specialized saddlebags that clip right onto the frame of the bike. So you aren't sweating through a heavy backpack for 6 days straight. The bike carries the weight, not your spine.
Exactly. But the true game changer for accessibility, especially when facing a climb like Jezebel, is that they offer electric-assisted e-bikes.
The great equalizer.
It really is. If you want to experience the breathtaking views from Mount Jezebel, looking out over the Bay of Biscay, but you don't have the cardiovascular endurance of a Tour de France professional, the e-bike levels the playing field.
Thank goodness for that.
It provides that extra push on the steepest sections, allowing you to focus entirely on the spectacular coastal scenery rather than the burning sweat in your eyes and the pain in your legs. It makes the epic achievable.
Plus, they equip the bikes with absolutely everything else you need. The repair kits, the spare tubes, and highly detailed turn-by-turn routing preloaded onto a GPS device. Years of trial and error by these tour operators mean that all those logistical what-ifs, the broken chains, the lost reservations, the dead-end dirt roads that look good on Google Maps but actually lead into a swamp, have been entirely eliminated.
All the heavy lifting is done for you.
They've curated the best roads and the most scenic stops. All you have to do is show up, get on the saddle, and pedal.
It's the perfect synthesis of wild adventure and absolute security. You get the thrill of the unknown without the danger of the unprepared.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring it all together for you. This 6-day Basque Country tour is essentially a masterclass in contrasts. You get to start and end with the glamorous, world-class cuisine and sweeping ocean views of the coast, but the real meat of the journey takes you deep into ancient, silent beach forests.
The quiet is unforgettable.
You are riding on brilliant historic infrastructure like the converted railway tunnels, and you are tackling challenging yet totally accessible mountain climbs, whether you're on a gravel bike or an e-bike. You get to cross international borders under your own power, earning your arrival in every single town. It is luxury and grit, perfectly balanced.
It really is a remarkable way to intimately experience a culture. And going through the details of this route, this raises an important question for me, one that I think goes beyond just planning a vacation in Spain.
Oh, I like where this is going. What's the takeaway?
We spend a lot of time discussing the Vias Verdes, the brilliant concept of taking an obsolete, abandoned railway line that was just sitting there rusting and beautifully reimagining it into a thriving, eco-friendly artery. It connects people to nature, preserved hidden cultures, and completely revitalized how people move through those mountains.
It's a brilliant reuse of space.
So the question is, what abandoned or forgotten infrastructure in your own city or your own hometown is just sitting there waiting to be repurposed? What forgotten pathway, old rail line, or industrial corridor could be transformed to completely change how you experience your local landscape?
Wow. That is such a cool way to look at the space around us every single day. Maybe it's an old canal path or a disused industrial road that could be the next great greenway right in our backyards.
Yeah.
Love that perspective. Well, that is a perfect provocative thought to leave you with today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive journey from the Michelin stars of the coast to the quiet mountain valleys. Keep looking at the world around you differently, keep seeking out those aha moments, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.